us are hearing about the pain that our citizens are going through because the Electoral Commission has decided to restrict registration centers to only district capitals. 4 or 5 political parties go to the Supreme Court asking for an injunction so that the Electoral Commission can be restrained to enable the proper things to be done. First, they are told that the Chief Justice is not available. She's not dead, she's not available. What are we to understand? That when the Chief Justice is not available, the judicial system doesn't work anymore? How do you have a democracy in which when the Chief Justice is not available, everything grinds to a halt? But you see, that is not the worst part. 2 days after we were told that the Chief Justice was not available and therefore they couldn't give a date for hearing and so on, I saw the Chief Justice on the front or back page of the Daily Graphic with the Vice President commissioning the new headquarters of the Methodist Church. They don't have time to hear this case, but they have a lot of time to be commissioning headquarters of churches. I feel sad. Now, you know what is even more intriguing? The court has decided that the case can only be heard after the registration exercise is over in October. The case will be heard after the registration exercise is over. So what is the point? You know, something is happening in this country, has happened in many other countries, that I think we should watch very carefully. They say there are some institutions, and they say they are constitutional institutions. And they say these constitutional institutions, they are independent. So I ask myself, independent of what and from what? These are people we didn't elect. We elected the president who appointed them. The moment they are appointed, they say they are independent. We have no control over them. What we think doesn't matter. I think the point ought to be made that the independence of constitutional bodies is not unfettered. That the independence of constitutional bodies are fettered. And they're fettered because the powers they exercise are our powers. It is because all of us cannot sit in the Supreme Court. That is why 14 people sit there taking decisions on our behalf. When you go to the court and you are sentenced to a term, you are sentenced in the name of the people of Ghana, of the Republic. So if you are sentencing in my name, please don't tell me you are independent when you act in my name. And all these institutions, their freedoms are not unlimited, and it is time to point that out very, very clearly to them. Electoral Commission. A member of the Electoral Commission is confronted with the fact that the manner in which the registration exercise is being carried on, many Ghanaians will be disenfranchised. And his response is that it is not compulsory to vote. That is his response. It's not compulsory. Voting is not compulsory. He forgets that the Electoral Commission is charged with making sure that everybody who is eligible to vote is able to vote. Everybody who is eligible to vote is able to vote. That is perhaps one of the most irresponsible statements I've heard in this constitutional era. Absolutely irresponsible and reckless. The problem is that we tolerate such recklessness and irresponsibility. That is the problem. Now, So many people say that this constitution is not working. Fine. And they give all kinds of reasons why the constitution is not working, why our democracy is defective. I don't want to repeat what the other panelists have said, but all of them have said very important things. If you have a parliament in which so many of the members of parliament went to parliament not because they want to be parliamentarians, but because they want to be ministers and deputy ministers and so on, how can parliament act as a check on the executive? How can parliament act as a check on the executive? It is impossible. You understand? Now, if you have a parliament and the president submits his nominees for various positions and so on, and you find that these nominees have overwhelming support of parliament, not because they are competent, not because their records are impeccable and so on. And I heard members of parliament say, well, we approve so and so because we all come from the same area. And the worst part was when I heard a member of parliament say, as for this woman, she's so good. She doesn't give contracts only to MPP people. We all get some. Is it the democracy we want to build? The democracy we want to insert it? But you see, something worse is happening, and I think that we have to look sharp. Have you observed the campaign to be president and vice presidents in the various parties, all the parties? Have you observed what is happening? I am really frightened. The other day, the NDC, I heard somebody busily arguing that the vice presidential candidate must necessarily be an Ashanti. I said, this man is an idiot. Ashanti, why? It doesn't matter, just choose an Ashanti. Because you see, they have no respect for the Ashanti people. They think that the Ashanti people will follow anybody simply because he or she is an Ashanti. That's an insult to Ashantis. It's not just an insult to Ashantis and so on. It also means that those at the helm of affairs of our political parties have lost it. They don't understand what is happening. In a country in which in 2 years food prices have gone up by 300 to 400%, we are still talking Ashanti versus Dagomba. What is happening to these people? Something is wrong. You understand? They are dividing us along regional lines. They are dividing us along ethnic lines and so on. No democracy will survive if the people are divided along those lines. But what is even important, when it comes to exercising our power, they at the helm of affairs do not divide themselves on ethnic and regional lines. Go to the Flagstaff House, see the cabinet meeting. In the cabinet meeting, you find all of them there. Dagomba, Ashanti, Frafra, Nzema, they all sit in the cabinet meeting and collectively decide to go to the IMF to impose these hardships on us. When it comes to going to the IMF to impose hardships on us, they don't look at Dagomba, they don't look at Ashanti, they are all together, one. But when it comes to we, the people, struggling for our needs, struggling to realize our aspirations and so on, they tell us that we must divide ourselves along regional and ethnic lines and so on. Ethnicity, regionalism is a threat to any and every democratic order. And those who preach it must be seen for the bigots that they are. They must be seen for the charlatans that they are. And we have to reject them. I'll tell you a story. I was going to say privilege. I'm not so sure. maybe the misfortune of having to work with all the political parties in this country. All of them, without exception. Now, I recall that in 1991, the signs were clear. We had participated in the struggles to restore bourgeois democracy, whatever it's called, and so on. And then at the point when the PNDC had been defeated and Jerry Rawlings was willing to hand over power and so on, we came up and said, look, we need a level playing field. So the PNDC needs to step down for us to have an interim government of national unity which will prepare the grounds for elections. Hey, all the leaders, MPP leaders, and so on, say, these boys, they don't know what they are talking about. Let's get the power first. So these popular demands for an interim government and so on were shelved because these politicians were in a hurry to grab power. We should have learnt our lessons there and seen that these politicians were not taking us anywhere, that this is the destination they will bring us, and they have brought us to this sorry destination because of their greed for power. And what have they done with power anyway? What have they done with the power they've been exercising since 1992? What have they done with that power? You know, I recall again, when the Constitution was promulgated, my friends in the New Patriotic Party raised issue with the Access Declaration provisions and so on. And they insisted that spouses of politicians must also declare their assets and so on. And we carried on this campaign until the 2000 elections. And President Kufuor was elected as president of Ghana. One of the things that I thought was going to happen was that the Access Declaration regime was going to be changed. Now lie. Then the NDC came into opposition and also decided that the Access Declaration regime needed to change. Then 2008, NDC came to power. Was the Access Declaration regime change? Still, we did inside. That is not all. The elections of district and municipal chief executives, 1992, MPP was championing it with all their strength. We should elect them. And I thought that when they got power in 2000, they would effect those changes. It didn't happen. Then the NDC came into opposition and decided to champion that too. That they must be elected by all means. NDC came to power 2008. Nothing changed. Nana Akufo-Addo, who was the champion, is in power today. What has changed? Nana Akufo-Addo, my very good friend, fellow agitator. We organized Kumi Preku together. We did many things together. What has changed? So look, if you are going to rely on these politicians to bring about the desired changes, forget it. Change is not going to come from them. The change we want must come from the people. The change we want must come from the working people of this country. And the working people of this country need to be organized. They need to be organized as Kwame Nkrumah organized the Convention People's Party. The youth needs to be organized as Kwame Nkrumah organized the Central Youth Organization. The women needs to be organized so that together we can struggle and build better democracy for Ghana and for everybody else. That is our task. Today there's a coup in Niger. And all of these leaders hurriedly go and meet somewhere in Abuja, and they decide that they are marching soldiers to Niamey to go and restore the God-forsaken, useless president who had just been overthrown. Because they think that democracy is under threat. And I wonder the level of hypocrisy of these leaders. We can look at them one by one. You take somebody like Alassane Ouattara. Alassane Ouattara is a beneficiary of a coup regime. It is